Washington, officially the state of Washington, is a state in the Pacific Northwest region of the United States. It is often referred to as Washington State to distinguish it from the national capital, both named after George Washington, the first U.S. president. Washington borders the Pacific Ocean to the west, Oregon to the south, Idaho to the east, and shares an international border with the Canadian province of British Columbia to the north. Olympia is the state capital, and the most populous city is Seattle. Washington is the 18th largest state, with an area of 71,362 square miles and 184,830 square kilometers, and the 13th most populous state, with more than 7.8 million people. The majority of Washington's residents live in the Seattle metropolitan area, the center of transportation, business, and industry on Puget Sound, an inlet of the Pacific Ocean consisting of numerous islands, deep fjords, and bays carved out by glaciers. The remainder of the state consists of deep temperate rainforest in the West Mountain Ranges in the west, center, northeast, and far southeast, and a semi-arid basin region in the east, center, and south, given over to intensive agriculture. Washington is the second most populous state on the west coast and in the western United States, after California. Mount Rainier, an active stratovolcano, is the state's highest elevation at 14,411 feet and 4,392 meters and is the most topographically prominent mountain in the contiguous U.S. Washington is a leading lumber producer, the largest producer of apples, hops, pears, blueberries, spearmint, oil, and sweet cherries in the U.S., and ranks high in the production of apricots, asparagus, dry edible peas, grapes, lentils, peppermint, oil, and potatoes. Livestock products, and commercial fishing, particularly of salmon, halibut, and bottomfish, are also significant contributors to the state's economy. Washington ranks second only to California in wine production. Manufacturing industries in Washington include aircraft, missiles, shipbuilding, and other transportation equipment, food processing, metals and metal products, chemicals, and machinery. The state was formed from the western part of the Washington Territory, which was ceded by the British Empire in the Oregon Treaty of 1846. It was admitted to the Union as the 41st state in 1889. One of the wealthiest and most socially liberal states in the country, Washington consistently ranks among the top states for highest life expectancy and employment rates. It was one of the first states, alongside Colorado, to legalize medicinal and recreational cannabis, was among the first states to introduce same-sex marriage, and was one of only 4 states to have provided legal abortions on request before Roe v. Wade in 1973. Washington voters also approved a 2008 referendum on the legalization of physician-assisted suicide, making it one of 10 states to have legalized the practice. The American goldfinch, Spinus tristes, is a small, diurnal bird that's part of the finch family. It's about the size of a stick of butter, with a cone-shaped beak and long wings. In the winter, both males and females have brownish feathers, but in the summer, the male's feathers are bright yellow. The American goldfinch is a granivore, meaning it mainly eats seeds, especially sunflower, thistle, and elm seeds. Rhododendron macrophyllum. The Pacific rhododendron, California rosebay, California rhododendron, coast rhododendron, or big leaf rhododendron, is a large leaf species of rhododendron native to the Pacific coast of North America. It is the state flower of Washington. Tsuba heterophylla, the western hemlock or western hemlock spruce, is a species of hemlock native to the west coast of North America, with its northwestern limit on the Kenai Peninsula, Alaska, and its southeastern limit in northern Sonoma County, California. The Latin species name means variable leaves. The U.S. state of Washington has 39 counties. The Provisional Government of Oregon established Vancouver and Lewis counties in 1845 in unorganized Oregon country, extending from the Columbia River north to 54 degrees 40 north latitude. After the region was organized within the Oregon Territory with the current northern border of 49 degrees north, Vancouver County was renamed Clark, and 6 more counties were created out of Lewis County before the organization of Washington Territory in 1853. 28 were formed during Washington's territorial period, 2 of which only existed briefly. The final 5 were established in the 22 years after Washington was admitted to the Union as the 41st state in 1889. Article 11 of the Washington State Constitution addresses the organization of counties. New counties must have a population of at least 2,000, and no county can be reduced to a population below 4,000 due to partitioning to create a new county. To alter the area of a county, the state constitution requires a petition of the majority of the voters in that area. A number of county partition proposals in the 1990s interpreted this as a majority of people who voted, until a 1998 ruling by the Washington Supreme Court clarified that they would need a majority of registered voters. No changes to counties have been made since the formation of Penn or a county in 1911, except when the small area of Cliffdale was moved from Catitas to Yakima County in 1970. King County, home to the state's largest city, Seattle, holds almost 30% of Washington's population, 2,271,380 residents of 7,812,880 in 2023, and has the highest population density, with more than 1,000 people per square mile. Garfield County is both the least populated 2,363 and least densely populated 3.3 square miles and 1.3 square kilometers. Two counties, San Juan and Island, are composed only of islands. The average county is 1,830 square miles and 4,700 square kilometers with 200,330 people. 17 counties have Native American-derived names, including 9 names of tribes whose land settlers would occupy. Another 17 were named for political figures, only 5 of whom had lived in the region. The last 5 are named for geographic places. The Federal Information Processing Standard FIPS code, used by the United States government to uniquely identify counties, is provided with each entry. The FIPS code links in the table point to U.S. Census data pages for each county. Washington's FIPS state code is 53.
Top 10 largest cities in Washington.
Number 10, Federal Way, Washington. Federal Way is a city in King County, Washington, United States, and part of the Seattle metropolitan area. One of the most recently incorporated cities in the county. Its population was 101,030 at the 2020 census. Federal Way is the 10th most populous city in Washington and the 5th most populous in King County. Number 9, Renton, Washington. Renton is a city in King County, Washington, United States, and an inner ring suburb of Seattle. Situated 11 miles and 18 kilometers southeast of downtown Seattle, Renton straddles the southeast shore of Lake Washington, at the mouth of the Sierra River. As of the 2020 census, the population of Renton was 106,785, up from 90,927 at the 2010 census. The city is currently the 6th most populous municipality in Greater Seattle and the 8th most populous city in Washington. After a long history as an important salmon fishing area for Native Americans, Renton was first settled by people of European descent in the 1860s. Its early economy was based on coal mining, clay production, and timber export. Today, Renton is best known as the final assembly point for the Boeing 737 family of commercial airplanes, but it is also home to a growing number of well-known manufacturing, technology, and healthcare organizations, including Boeing Commercial Airplanes Division, PACCAR, Kaiser Permanente, Providence Health and Services, UW Medicine, and Wizards of the Coast. Number 8, Spokane Valley, Washington. Spokane Valley is a city in Spokane County, Washington, United States, and the largest suburb of Spokane. It is located east of Spokane, west of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and surrounds the city of Millwood on 3 sides. The city incorporated as the City of Spokane Valley on March 31, 2003. The population was 102,976 at the 2020 census, making it the 9th most populous city in Washington state. Spokane Valley is named after the valley of the Spokane River in which it is located. The city and the general area is colloquially referred to as the Valley by residents of the Spokane and Coeur d'Alene area. Spokane Valley hosts a variety of community events such as the Spokane County Interstate Fair, Valleyfest, and the Inland Northwest Crafts Beer Festival, and is home to the Spokane Valley Heritage Museum and the home ground of the Spokane Indians minor league baseball team. Number 7, Everett, Washington. Everett is the county seat and most populous city of Snohomish County, Washington, United States. It is 25 miles and 40 kilometers north of Seattle and is one of the main cities in the metropolitan area and the Puget Sound region. Everett is the 7th most populous city in the state by population, with 110,629 residents as of the 2020 census. The city is primarily situated on a peninsula at the mouth of the Snohomish River along Port Gardner Bay, an inlet of Possession Sound, itself part of Puget Sound, and extends to the south and west. The Port Gardner Peninsula has been inhabited by the Snohomish people for thousands of years, whose main settlement, Hibble, was located at Preston Point near the mouth of the river. Modern settlement in the area began with loggers and homesteaders arriving in the 1860s, but plans to build a city were not conceived until 1890. A consortium of East Coast investors seeking to build a major industrial city acquired land in the area and filed a plat for Everett, which they named in honor of Everett Colby, the son of investor Charles L. Colby. The city was incorporated in 1893, shortly after the arrival of the Great Northern Railway, and prospered as a major lumber center with several large sawmills. Everett became the county seat in 1897 after a dispute with Snohomish contested over several elections in a Supreme Court case. The city was the site of labor unrest during the 1910s, which culminated in the Everett Massacre in 1916 that killed several members of the Industrial Workers of the World. The area was connected by new interurban railways and highway bridges in the 1920s, transforming it into a major commercial hub, and gained an airport at Painfield in 1936. The city's economy transitioned away from lumber and towards aerospace after World War II, with the construction of Boeing's aircraft assembly plant at Painfield in 1967. Boeing's presence brought additional industrial and commercial developments to Everett, as well as new residential neighborhoods to the south and west of the peninsula that was annexed by the city. Boeing remains the city's largest employer, alongside the U.S. Navy, which has operated Naval Station Everett since 1994. Everett remains a major employment center for Snohomish County, but has also become a bedroom community for Seattle in recent decades. It is connected to Seattle by Interstate 5 and various public transit services at Everett Station, including the Sounder commuter train, Amtrak, and commuter buses. Everett stages several annual festivals and is also home to minor league sports teams, including the Everett Silvertips at Angel of the Winds Arena and Everett Aqua Sox at Funko Field. Number 6. Kent, Washington. Kent is a city in King County, Washington, United States. It is part of the Seattle and Tacoma and Bellevue metropolitan area and had a population of 136,588 as of the 2020 census, making it the fourth most populous municipality in Greater Seattle and the sixth most populous in Washington state. The city is connected to Seattle, Bellevue, and Tacoma via State Route 167 and Interstate 5, Sounder commuter rail, and commuter buses. Incorporated in 1890, Kent is the second oldest incorporated city in the county, after the county seat of Seattle. It is generally divided into three areas: West Hill mixed residential and commercial along Interstate 5, Valley primarily industrial and commercial with some medium-density residential, significant Parkland along Green River, and East Hill primarily residential with retail. Number 5. Bellevue, Washington. Bellevue is a city in the East Side region of King County, Washington, United States, located across Lake Washington from Seattle. It is the third largest city in the Seattle metropolitan area, and the fifth largest city in Washington. It has variously been characterized as a satellite city, a suburb, a boomburb, or an edge city. The population was 151,854 at the 2020 census. The city's name is derived from the French term belle vue, beautiful view. Bellevue is home to some of the world's largest technology companies. Before and after the 2008 recession, its downtown area has been undergoing rapid change, with many high-rise projects being constructed. Downtown Bellevue is currently the second largest city center in Washington state, with 1,300 businesses, 45,000 employees, and 10,200 residents. In a 2018 estimate, the city's median household income was among the top 5 cities in the state of Washington. In 2008, Bellevue was number 1 in CNN Money's list of the best places to live and launch a business, and in 2010 was again ranked as the 4th best place to live in America. In 2014, Bellevue was ranked as the 2nd best place to live by USA Today. More than 145 companies have been located in Bellevue. Companies currently headquartered there include PACCAR Inc., T-Mobile US, and Val. The technology company Amazon was founded in Bellevue by Jeff Bezos. Number 4. Vancouver, Washington. Vancouver is a city on the north bank of the Columbia River in the U.S. state of Washington, located in Clark County. Founded in 1825 and incorporated in 1857, Vancouver had a population of 190,915 as of the 2020 census, making it the 4th most populous city in Washington state. Vancouver is the seat of government of Clark County and forms part of the Portland and Vancouver metropolitan area, the 25th largest metropolitan area in the United States. Originally established in 1825 around Fort Vancouver, a fur trading outpost, the city is located on the Washington and Oregon border along the Columbia River, directly north of Portland. Number 3. Tacoma, Washington. Tacoma is the county seat of Pierce County, Washington, United States. A port city, it is situated along Washington's Puget Sound, 32 miles and 51 kilometers southwest of Seattle, 36 miles and 58 kilometers southwest of Bellevue, 31 miles and 50 kilometers northeast of the state capital, Olympia, 58 miles and 93 kilometers northwest of Mount Rainier National Park, and 80 miles and 130 kilometers east of Olympic National Park. The city's population was 219,346 at the time of the 2020 census. Tacoma is the second largest city in the Puget Sound area and the third most populous in the state. Tacoma also serves as the center of business activity for the South Sound region, which has a population of about 1 million. Tacoma adopted its name after the nearby Mount Rainier, called Tshwakiu Glottal Stop in the Puget Sound Salish dialect, and Tacoma in an anglicized version. It is locally known as the City of Destiny because the area was chosen to be the western terminus of the Northern Pacific Railroad in the late 19th century. The decision of the railroad was influenced by Tacoma's neighboring deep-water harbor, Commencement Bay. By connecting the bay with the railroad, Tacoma's motto became "When rails meet sails." Commencement Bay serves the port of Tacoma, a center of international trade on the Pacific coast and Washington's largest port. The city gained notoriety in 1940 for the collapse of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, which earned the nickname Galloping Gertie due to the vertical movement of the deck during windy conditions. Like most industrial cities, Tacoma suffered a prolonged decline in the mid-20th century as a result of suburbanization and divestment. Since the 1990s, downtown Tacoma has experienced a period of revitalization. Developments in the downtown include the University of Washington Tacoma, the T-Line, formerly Tacoma Link, the first modern electric light rail service in the state's highest density of art and history museums, and a restored urban waterfront, the Theophos Waterway. Number 2. Spokane, Washington. Spokane is the most populous city in and the county seat of Spokane County, Washington, United States. It is in eastern Washington, along the Spokane River, adjacent to the Selkirk Mountains, and west of the Rocky Mountain Foothills, 92 miles and 148 kilometers south of the Canadian border, 18.5 miles and 30 kilometers west of the Washington and Idaho border, and 279 miles and 449 kilometers east of Seattle, along Interstate 90. Spokane is the economic and cultural center of the Spokane metropolitan area, the Spokane and Coeur d'Alene combined statistical area, and the inland Northwest. It is known as the birthplace of Father's Day, and locally by the nickname of Lilac City. Officially, Spokane goes by the nickname of Hoop Town, USA, due to Spokane's annual hosting of the Spokane Hoopfest, the world's largest basketball tournament. The city and the wider inland Northwest area are served by Spokane International Airport, 5 miles and 8 kilometers west of downtown Spokane, which is located near another airfield at Fairchild Air Force Base. According to the 2010 census, Spokane had a population of 208,916, making it the 21st most populous city in Washington, and the 97th most populous city in the United States. At the 2020 census, Spokane's population was 228,989. A 2023 estimate sets the population of the metropolitan area at 600,292. The first people to live in the area, the Spokane tribe, their name meaning children of the sun in Salish, and lived off plentiful gain. David Thompson explored the area with the westward expansion and establishment of the Northwest Company's Spokane House in 1810. This trading post was the first long-term European settlement in Washington. Completion of the Northern Pacific Railway in 1881 brought many settlers from America to the Spokane area. The same year it was officially incorporated as a city under the name of Spokane Falls. It was reincorporated under its current name 10 years later in the late 19th century. Gold and silver were discovered in the inland Northwest. The local economy depended on mining, timber, and agriculture until the 1980s. Spokane hosted the first environmentally themed World's Fair at Expo 74. Many of the downtown area's older Romanesque Revival-style buildings were designed by architect Kirtland Kelsey Cutter after the Great Fire of 1889. The city is also home to the Riverfront and Magneto Parks, the Smithsonian-affiliated Northwest Museum of Arts and Culture, the Davenport Hotel, and the Fox and Bing Crosby Theaters. The Cathedral of Our Lady of Lourdes is the seat of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Spokane, and the Cathedral of St. John the Evangelist serves as that of the Episcopal Diocese of Spokane. The Spokane Washington Temple in the east of the county serves the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Gonzaga University was established in 1887 by the Jesuits, and the private Presbyterian Whitworth University was founded 3 years later and moved to North Spokane in 1914. In sports, the region's professional and semi-professional sports teams include the Spokane Indians in minor league baseball, the Spokane Chiefs in the Western Hockey League, The Spokane Velocity in USL League 1 with a women's first division team, Spokane Zephyr FC in USL Super League. The Gonzaga Bulldogs collegiate basketball team competes at the Division I level. As of 2010, Spokane's major daily newspaper, The Spokesman Review, had a daily circulation of over. Number 1. Seattle, Washington. Seattle is a seaport city on the west coast of the United States. It is the seat of King County, Washington. With a 2023 population of 755,078, it is the most populous city in both the state of Washington and the Pacific Northwest region of North America, and the 18th most populous city in the United States. The Seattle metropolitan area's population is 4.02 million, making it the 15th largest in the United States. Its growth rate of 21.1% between 2010 and 2020 made it one of the country's fastest-growing large cities. Seattle is situated on an isthmus between Puget Sound, an inlet of the Pacific Ocean, and Lake Washington. It is the northernmost major city in the United States, located about 100 miles and 160 kilometers south of the Canadian border. A gateway for trade with East Asia, the Port of Seattle is the fourth largest port in North America in terms of container handling as of 2021. The Seattle area has been inhabited by Native Americans such as the Duwamish, who had at least 17 villages around Elliott Bay for at least 4,000 years before the first permanent European settlers. Arthur A. Denny and his group of travelers, subsequently known as the Denny Party, arrived from Illinois via Portland, Oregon, on the schooner Exact at Aukie Point on November 13, 1851. The settlement was moved to the eastern shore of Elliott Bay in 1852 and named Seattle in honor of Chief Seattle, a prominent 19th century leader of the local Duwamish and Suquamish tribes. Seattle currently has high populations of Native Americans alongside Americans with strong Asian, African, European, and Scandinavian ancestry, and as of 2015, hosts the fifth largest LGBT community in the U.S. Logging was Seattle's first major industry, but by the late 19th century the city had become a commercial and shipbuilding center as a gateway to Alaska during the Klondike Gold Rush. The city grew after World War II, partly due to the local Boeing company, which established Seattle as a center for its manufacturing of aircraft. Beginning in the 1980s, the Seattle area developed into a technology center. Microsoft established its headquarters in the region. In 1994, internet retailer Amazon was founded in Seattle, and Alaska Airlines is based in Sedac, Washington, serving Seattle and Tacoma International Airport, Seattle's international airport. The stream of new software, biotechnology, and internet companies led to an economic revival, which increased the city's population by almost 50,000 in the decade between 1990 and 2000. The culture of Seattle is heavily defined by its significant musical history. Between 1918 and 1951, nearly 24 jazz nightclubs existed along Jackson Street, from the current Chinatown International District to the Central District. The jazz scene nurtured the early careers of Ernestine Anderson, Ray Charles, Quincy Jones, and others. In the late 20th and early 21st century, the city also was the origin of several rock bands, including Foo Fighters, Heart, and Jimi Hendrix, and the subgenre of grunge and its pioneering bands, including Alice in Chains, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, and others.